good things start to happen and people feel it. The Republicans won the Congress in 1994, same way they won it in 2010, by opposing to the person my economic plan and saying it would be a disaster, that it would be the end of civilization as we know it, that the sky would fall. Why? Because I asked the main beneficiaries of tax cuts in the 1980s and the economic growth of the 80s to pay a little more so we could have a balanced plan and really invest in education and work and family and in the areas that have been left out and left behind. And the minute we passed that plan, even announcing it, there was a big drop in interest rates and the bond market soared and we had enormous economic growth. But I didn't have to do it in the teeth of a financial collapse. And so my answer to Mayor Giuliani is, if Mitt Romney had been president, if he'd been president, if any Republican had been president, nobody could have possibly repaired all the damage that the financial crisis did to the American economy in 4 years. And the people in America who know the most about it, Kenneth Rogoff and Carmen Reinhardt, who literally spent years researching all the financial crises in the world since World War II, say the same thing. You couldn't get over this in 4 years. So I really think, you know, for example, let's assume nobody was responsible for the financial crisis. And you don't hold it against anybody. If you take all the jobs created in the Bush years before the financial crisis, private sector jobs, and you don't even hold the first 6 months of the little dot-com collapse against President Bush, just take 7 years, they have 2.6 million private sector jobs. In the last 32 months, we've had 5.3 million. More than 2 to 1 better. That's pretty good roarback. And 500,000 new manufacturing jobs. We've got 250,000 more people working in the automobile industry. We saved 1 million jobs, not allowing General Motors and Chrysler to go under, which is why the German and Japanese car manufacturers that make cars in America and got no money from the auto restructuring supported it strongly because they wanted to keep the suppliers going. So there's a lot of good things going, but Mayor Giuliani's not right. There's no way America could have 4% unemployment in 4 years, which is really just 3.5 years from the time the crisis bottomed out in the middle of 2009 and 3 years since it did. He's just not right about that. We can't, I don't care who had been president. If I had been president doing all the right things, and one of the things I would have tried to do is to resolve all this housing stuff quicker and take a little more heat for doing it. But even that, we wouldn't be all the way back. What we've got to do is say which candidate and which approach is most likely to produce a better result over the next 4 years, when we know it's probably going to be pretty good anyway, since you've got 2 independent groups that say we're going to get 12 million jobs. And I should say, by the way, that Rogoff and Reinhardt also believed what America did in 2000, and they give George Bush credit too. I think, you know, he's a friend of mine, we do speeches together. He hated doing that TARP deal. He hated the bailout. But he did the right thing. And Obama did the right thing to come back and vote for it, as did John McCain. And then President Obama had to do another round, and then did the auto thing. I believe that the steps that were taken to avoid going into a depression and lay the foundation for a long build back were good ones. And the Reinhardt and Rogoff say that America greatly outperformed the rest of the world through 2010. Then in 2011, when the new Congress came in, we decided we would join Europe and the UK in advocating austerity now. We cut off aid to state and local governments to keep the police officers, the firefighters, and the teachers, the nurses, and the others working. And unemployment among public sector employees went up 700,000. Otherwise, the unemployment rate would be below 8% a long time ago, and it might be under 7 now. So It's just what I think, but I think the evidence is clear there. We're going to have a good next 4 years. I personally strongly believe that will be much better if we adopt the plans that the president has outlined. But I think Governor Romney made a good bet on that 12 million jobs deal, because he's got two people who make two different groups making a living doing it, who don't have a dog in either hunt, who say we're going to get 12 million jobs if we don't fall off the boat.